Hello, and thank you for joining us for news, reviews, and interviews from your favorite galaxy far, far away. My name is Pat. Don't call me Padawan Collins.
And it's the Mayor of Alderaan here, Andy Hanlon.
Andy, that's Mayor-elect. And I'm Ryan, sit the bed, Sherman Hess.
Yeah, well, look, what about me?
What are you? A monk?
I'm a Sith Lord.
Well, fellas, what's on the council docket today?
Is Hera replacing Cara Dune?
Mena Massoud to play Ezra?
Bill Burr defends Gina Carano.
Star Wars official YouTube numbers are awful.
And we got a few things on the Obi Watch front to throw your way, so get ready for that and get ready for Lightspeed on Good Morning Alderaan.
Hello there.
He's no good to me dead.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
I think you'll fill in nicely.
This is where the fun begins.
Okay, fellas, new intro, new style. I like this. A new energy along with our bed-sithing new comrade, Ryan Sherman Hess. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for joining the council. You passed all of the Jedi trials. Yoda had nothing but great things to say about you. You
officially get to build your own new lightsaber.
Amazing.
Yes.
Just gotta find some kyber crystals and a cylindrical device to put them in.
Well, knowing what I know about you so far, those shouldn't be too hard to find. So, but anyways, let's get right into the news, guys. So, our girl Gina Carano, as we know, may have stepped in a couple things she may not. Really, I guess she stuck to her guns. Good on her for that, is maybe how I should phrase that.
That's funny because she has guns in the show.
She does.
Hey, yes, yes.
But she's very muscular.
Yes.
And she's like
China.
Python-style guns.
She's like China. If China was still alive, I would be...
Did China pass away?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think from cardiac
That's
issues.
unfortunate. This took a dark turn.
Yeah. I love this energy. Let's keep
new energy.
Let's carry this.
Let's
like
talk
this a
about
lot.
Next subject is Chris Benoit.
Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, let's just
hey,
talk about all our favorite.
Owen Hart.
Jabba the Hutt.
I'm assuming Ric Flair.
Not Ric Flair yet. Macho Man.
he's still going.
Rest in peace, Macho Man.
Yeah.
Bonesaw is ready.
I got you for 10 minutes.
There's a little video that I saw where it's one of those like nobody, and then it's got the colon, and then it said pugs, colon, and it just had all the breaths of Macho Man Randy Savage going. It's just like super cut of all his deep breaths that he would take while he's all sweaty and jacked, and he's got those 80s sunglasses on. It was beautiful, but we're slowly starting to careen into what probably should be our next podcast of just wrestling lore. But anyways, Gina Carano, of course, was a victim of cancellation. I say cancel like cancel the cult, the cancel culture cult.
I'm thinking more like a victim of cancel as a person.
Yes, exactly. She's she is canceled. Therefore, I think this is likely one of those rumors that were just leaked intentionally to see what the fans' reaction would be. Now, this rumor is that Hera from the TV show Rebels, the Twi'lek green-skinned female pilot captain of the Ghost, she would be replacing Cara Dune's character in the Rangers of the New Republic show. Now, nothing's confirmed yet. There's no actress tied to this whatsoever. There is nothing else aside from just this rumor that has been sprung into the media as to Hera Syndulla replacing Cara Dune in the Rangers of the New Republic. I think Disney's just, again, trying to see what all us nerds are going to be, what's our reaction? So far, I've seen nothing but positive. I think that's like I know people, there's definitely a big swing of people that are fighting for Cara Dune and fighting for Gina Carano. And, that's a whole other set of political issues. But personally, I'd like to see Hera in a live action role.
I think even regardless of her replacing anybody, I think she should be in the show regardless. Like, who cares if she's replacing Cara Dune or not? Like, just she should have been in the show.
Totally.
Yeah, like the Ghost. That was what the ship was called, right? The Ghost, I'm pretty sure. It was in Rogue One. It was one of those ships that's like in the background. You could barely see it. Chopper is in the background of Rogue One. So like she's a present character. So I'm 100% with you that, yeah, having her in there, it's like she kind of had a big role in the formation of this rebel cell that they're all a part of now. So, yeah, I think seeing her in a live action role would just further the character and further the rebellion's cause. I think that would kick a couple million asses.
Yeah, I think that'd be sweet. I think especially bringing back like a fan favorite from another animated series would be a great tie-in. Because I don't think there has been, obviously Ahsoka's in Rebels, but there hasn't been much other like direct references to Rebels, right?
Right.
So I don't think.
Yeah, not so far anyways. It's, again, Filoni's new world, basically, where he's just incorporating, not only old Star Wars relic, but also Star Wars media that he's created in the animated universe and bringing that forth. And, the continued success of The Mandalorian and the little insertions that have come in and come out of that show are showing that the fans love it. The fans are all in with, no one's or no one feels like it's too much pandering. And maybe I'm using the term no one very generally or very generously, but yeah, no, I love those little kind of nods to be like, they were animated, now they're real life.
Well, it makes it real, right? Like, 'cause the shows are canon, but at the same time, they always felt a little separate for a while, up until I'd say the last season of Clone Wars, and then especially The Mandalorian, just tying it all together just makes it that much more real.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Mandalorian made it way more real. I mean, last season of some of the stuff in Rebels was really good, just with the Vader stuff and Ahsoka.
That's true.
And then they had Obi-Wan come back in Rebels with Darth Maul.
R.I.P.
Yeah, but I agree. It's good.
Yeah, so it just assists in furthering the characters, and it makes, again, I think I said this last week as well, it just makes sense from a business point of view for Disney to encourage people, if they want to get the most out of these live action shows, then go back and rewatch that previous media in Rebels, in Clone Wars, just to get more of that depth and more of that understanding of these live action characters that's coming in now. Because now it's like a more whole experience. And again, I think you said it last week, Ryan, kind of creating or assisting in creating that big Marvel style multimedia, multi-film universe that will come to some kind of culmination down the line. What in what capacity that is, I have no idea, but I'm very excited to see what it could be.
I think it'll be sick. And next up, Mena Massoud is the frontrunner to play Ezra Bridger in the live-action Ahsoka series. What do you guys think about that?
I like it. I like the Aladdin.
This the big part. Watch out. This the big part. Can your friends do this?
Can Ezra do that?
Honestly, I'm a fan to get some, Canadian blood in Star Wars. You got Kim's Convenience there, so I'm all for it.
Whoa. Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader.
Who?
You guys can go both fuck yourselves.
No, true. But I mean, like, more Canadians.
More Canadian.
I thought you were going to be like good Canadian.
Canadians who can act.
He was a victim of direction. I maintain that.
Shattered Glass is a great movie.
Yeah, and the Life as a House, I think was another one.
You ever see Awake with Jessica Alba?
Oh, that fucking sucked.
That was fucking intense.
And I mean that not from like a critical standpoint. I mean putting myself in an empathetical point of view, being awake and feeling.
It makes me not to want to have surgery.
Yeah. I'll go Bob Marley style, where it's like, nope, no surgery, no correction.
No man.
I'm going out.
No man.
No man. But only because I don't want to be awake during surgery, where you see like the tear rolling down his eyes, even though they're taped shut, and he's undergoing a full-blown like heart surgery or something.
Wasn't that movie called The Other Side of Darkness?
It was called Awake. Well, it was Awake, wasn't it?
Awake.
No. That was a Seinfeld deep cut. That was the movie that Kramer watches about going into a coma, and then he wants the plug pulled on him as soon as he goes in the coma.
That is that was a good reference.
Wow. Yeah, that's
clearly not that good because no one got it.
I consider myself to be well versed in the Seinfeld world, and he got me
speechless. Speechless. That's like
let's just cut that part out.
That's like Ant-Man. That's like Ant-Man going like into the multiverse, just like shrinking that.
The quantum
that's like
realm.
how deep you had to go into Seinfeld lore
that was
to pull that
a
out.
quantum Seinfeld reference.
There you go. Yeah, you definitely went quantum realm on that one.
Jerry, you ever seen the movie The Other Side of Darkness? No. It's about this woman in a coma. Well, I couldn't finish watching it, so I want you to read this.
I, Cosmo Kramer, having just seen the movie The Other Side of Darkness, and not wanting to be in a coma like that lady in the movie, hereby want Jerry Seinfeld to remove my life support, feeding machine, lung blower, etc., etc., etc.
Can you do that for me, buddy?
Well, I don't know if what you have here constitutes a legally binding document.
Well, I'm gonna type it up.
I'm excited for Mena Massoud, though, to play Ezra.
I think it'd be great.
I think it's going to be a good casting.
He's fantastic.
He's good in Aladdin.
I wasn't a huge fan of that movie, but...
You didn't like Aladdin?
I like the original.
I thought the remake of Aladdin was really well done. I liked it.
See, you got to go into those like live action remakes full on with like zero expectations to be like, this is going to be dog crap. This is going to be just like...
I thought it was pretty good.
And when I went in with that expectation, I was like, all right, you know what?
And I mean, yeah, Robin Williams isn't in it, obviously, and Will Smith did his best. But overall, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job.
But we are just going all straight, like, we should be like a multimedia style or a multi...
Let's bring it back.
Yeah, we gotta recenter on the Star Wars here. Excuse me. But yeah, Mena as Ezra, I can't really think of too many other actors who would have really fit the bill, fit the age, fit the profile, as to what, like, he just looks exactly like a live action version of Ezra. So I'm very excited for that. Again, it could be one of those Disney troll things to just like, let's see what the fans' reaction is. And then, because there's no official signing, nothing's been done yet. So it's like, the people with the tinfoil hats on are, let's send it to those guys. And then it just kind of slowly flitters out from there to a lot of these news outlets and
has it been confirmed that Ezra's for sure going to it makes sense that she'd show up in Ahsoka's show, but
I think his presence was confirmed, but I
imagine that's part of the whole thrust of the whole show, right? Kind of her trying to find him and Thrawn.
That would make sense to me. I think Ahsoka's going to be like the big show that really does like a lot of a lot is going to hinge on it. And I use that term very knowingly, thinking that it could go one way in its direction to carry on. And by direction, I mean one timeline to carry on into the sequel trilogy, or it's going to hinge to another direction and continue on to this rumored new sequel trilogy that maybe or may not be happening, with the spark of the World Between Worlds, which is definitely going to be present. You see it in the Ahsoka type font face.
Yeah.
It just looks like that World Between Worlds that was on Rebels season 4, I think, one of the last episodes, like episode 12. So that like the World Between Worlds is going to be touched on, where you can change history, you can change fate, and all of that. So yeah, it's...
Well, that's how she came back to life, right? Didn't she not originally die in her fight with Darth Vader?
No, I don't think we knew.
We just knew it didn't go well.
The door was
doesn't
closing.
He pull her out? Doesn't
Ezra pulled her out.
Ezra pulled her out, but that was in season 4. In season 2, at the season finale, when it happened, you didn't know. You saw the door close. You saw Ahsoka say, "I'm not going to leave you again, Anakin." And then you saw Vader like swing his lightsaber, basically. But and then you saw Vader walk out with no Ahsoka. So you could then assume that she had perished at the hands or the lightsaber of former homeboy Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. However, it was shortly after that Dave Filoni wore that T-shirt to that conference that said "Ahsoka lives," and then everyone goes buck wild and like, "Bah! Hey, she didn't die after all," because a lot of people were like, "Fuck out of Ahsoka!" Because he didn't mention it in season 3. I don't believe. I don't think she came up at all, or the Fulcrum character never came up. Not that I recall, anyways, off the top of my head. But yeah, so I think you're right. It is going to lean heavily on the relationship of Ahsoka and Ezra, and them trying to correct something that Thrawn's involved in. Who knows what that's going to look like, but I think it's going to be a biggie.
Didn't Filoni also confirm the Mandalorian that's like her pal, that she goes and meets again, and she's got like the white hood again on? Wasn't he saying that scene potentially happened after the Mandalorian? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I can't remember. When Ahsoka has the white hood on?
Yeah, who's the, like, in her little crew, there's Ezra and there's this other Mandalorian chick.
Sabine Wren.
Sabine, where she goes and meets Sabine at the end of Rebels, I think.
Yeah.
Filoni said that scene may or may not happen immediately after within the timeline of Rebels. It may have actually happened after what happens in Mandalorian. So maybe that's why Sabine's not in the Mandalorian. So she gets the info about Thrawn, goes to pick up Sabine, and then is on her way to find Ezra and Thrawn.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Ooh, some good things ahead for this show. Absolutely wunderbar.
This is a great podcast we're doing together.
This is blending lovely.
I love talking about the Star Wars.
The Wars, indeed. They are coming. They're coming for you. Speaking of German accents, Bill Burr defends Gina Carano. He kind of stood up for her, said she was nothing but an absolute sweetheart. Okay, here's his quote. "It's a weird time," Bill said on his popular podcast, "unless she did some truly horrible shit," it said S***, which I can assume means shit, "or said overtly racist shit, ... I don't know. I think there is just too many channels. And then you got to do sensational shit. I'm on that fucking show. Now I got to watch what the fuck I say." So, continuing on. I just scrolled down a little bit more. So he also added, "She was an absolute sweetheart. Super nice fucking person. Somehow someone will take this video and they'll make me say something else and try and get rid of my bald action figure. It's how it is out there. It's fucking crazy times. People just waiting, lying in the weeds." So it seems like he's kind of maybe not empathizing, but like, well, maybe empathizing, just saying like, yeah, that could happen to me. And like, he's said some truly horrible shit in his rants and his jokes and he's made a career on saying truly horrible shit.
Yeah.
And yet he was still hired. He was still brought on.
Yeah.
You can say that his was with the intention of comedy and satire, and like he was making fun of the shit that he was saying. Whereas Gina was very like, this is what it was like kind of thing, as opposed to like making it a joke. But yeah, I wonder like if he had said that exact same thing in his style and his tone, would he have been fired?
I think he probably would have got a pass, because I think they hired him with the understanding of who he was, and that's kind of his thing. It's just kind of he's like an offensive comic, right? He's hilarious, but that's edgy, just kind of his bag. That's what he does. So I imagine people are just kind of more accepting of him doing that. Yeah. It is unfortunate because I watched all those, like, what was it? The Gallery documentary for season 1 of The Mandalorian. There's all these roundtable discussions, and Gina came off like super sweet and was so like thankful for being a part of it and like so like, you know, complimentary of everyone she worked with. So, but then I guess she's a totally different beast on Instagram. So,
Yeah, that's just it, right? It
is what it is.
You can't necessarily, like, you have to be so careful with what your opinions are, which is in and of itself, that's exactly what Gina's trying to fight.
Yeah.
From my point of view, like she's against the whole idea of total complete censorship for, well, maybe censorship is not the right word, but like having this big brother machine controlling you and what you're saying. Which is essentially what was happening with her. Like, if you say the wrong thing, you get punished.
Yeah.
And she's saying, hey, well, fuck that.
I imagine, like, but in some ways, too, like you're signing up to work with Disney. Like, Disney is a massive company. It's got a lot of rules, a lot of control. Like, it's different. You know what I mean? Running your Instagram, working on a Disney show versus being an MMA fighter are two very different things. And I feel like I don't even know why most celebrities do their own social media. Like, just get a publicist. Don't even bother. Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You're already famous. You got a massive platform. You don't need to be constantly posting your real Instagram post. Just don't worry about it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And that's, I think I touched on this on a previous podcast as well, that's the unfortunate part is that, you know, a lot of these artists are very passionate. I think as an artist, you have to be in order to truly get to a stage that you are being recognized and you are being offered these amazing opportunities. And no one will listen to you unless you're like if that was me saying these quotes or these tweets, like people would just keep scrolling. But because there's, like you said, it comes with a certain amount of responsibility when you are in the public eye. And like, I think we talked about it with Bruce Valanche as well, that you need to, like, writing in Hollywood these days, you almost feel like you have to run everything by a complete team in order to get full approval to see, okay, how is this tweet going to be received by the people reading it? And I mean the people very broadly. I mean, like, this demographic, this demographic, this demographic, that demographic, this demographic. So there's so many different filters you have to apply when you're talking about anything, which again is a shame because she's got a message. She wants people to hear it, but that message may not align with the powers that hired her. So yeah, it's a finicky thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's
not much of a right or wrong answer, really, when you think about it. Like unless, like Bill said, it's some crazy racist style rant, which I didn't take that as, you know, racist per se, prejudice, or even maybe slightly ignorant. And in ignorant, I mean like applying.
I take it as like a little just like tone deaf. It's just kind of like
yes.
I don't know. It just seemed like one of those arguments you just like, it's just not a good argument. And there's like an old saying that if you evoke Hitler or the Holocaust, your argument's automatically false or wrong, because it's just such a common thing to just say, like, you know, I don't know. It just seemed
totally.
Like
when you bring that up, like, you automatically get this dark shadow cast upon you and what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's I likened it to the Joker in The Dark Knight when Batman says, "Let her go." And he goes, a very poor choice of words.
Yeah.
Because then he lets her go, quite literally.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, okay, if I had worded this differently, I could have got my message across in quite a different way than what the Joker was receiving that as, and literally letting her go. So it's like, yeah, Gina, we hear you, we get your message, but a very poor choice of words. So
yeah,
it just kind of fell into that pit for me, unfortunately. And so I didn't necessarily have a whole lot of sympathy when she got fired. Just like, well, you stepped in it. You're playing the game and you stepped in it.
I'm pretty indifferent about it.
I'm just, I just don't even, she wasn't that big of a character. Like,
no.
I do think if Disney was really concerned about it, they just wouldn't say anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, if season 3 started and you're like, it'd probably take like 4 or 5 episodes to be like, hey, Cara Dune's not in this. Like, I don't think anyone would have really been too worked up about it.
No. Like, I don't have much to say on it because I really don't care.
No, it's just
I'm indifferent on the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. So let's move right along.
Next on the docket, Star Wars official YouTube numbers are apparently awful, and they seem to be just like dropping like a bomb, just dwindling like crazy. And it may or may not be due to our last topic, with Gina Carano's being let go. Apparently, a bunch of trolls are downvoting every single thing that pops up on the Star Wars YouTube channel right now. Not sure how I feel about that, but
yeah, it's again, Battle of the Trolls. It's kind of like the Reddit Wall Street kind of gang, almost. It sounds like, where I feel sorry for the host of the Star Wars YouTube review channel, because I don't believe the downvotes are directed towards her, but directed towards who she works for and who she represents. It's like when your cable or internet isn't working and you get really pissed off and you call your cable or internet provider and you just start unleashing on that person who answers the phone, even though they have no real direction or control over the situation or power. Yeah. So it's kind of like that. But like further numbers, just looking at the main article here, again, we post all of our articles in our show notes as well. So if you want to get some context as to just what the fork we're talking about, then check those out. But this one is basically saying that like there are channels that have almost infinitely less subscribers that are getting the same amount of views on their videos than what Star Wars is right now. Which for like, oh sorry,
like what, like 20,000 downvote, like downvotes for these, like
oh yeah, like there's one video here that has 2,000 upvotes, 9.1 thousand downvotes, 2.8 upvotes, 28,000 downvotes. So like just like these aren't small numbers that these are, like it's not like fractional or even borderline. It's huge, these downvotes that are that affect the algorithm and like will affect a lot of the income of the Star Wars YouTube channel. So I can sense, listen to me, this Jedi ass that I am, I can sense a disturbance of the Force, and that that some changes are on the horizon for the YouTube game, because YouTube is a big player as far as content, and probably the biggest outside of a lot of these streaming services, maybe even bigger when you look at the sheer numbers of it. So like the fact that they have 3.54 million subscribers and they're only getting like 100,000 views or 110,000 views, like
it's pretty low for
small.
Star Wars.
Yeah. So like the earnings on these videos are, to give you context, for their highest, one of their highest viewerships from February 24th, 255,925. That's between $64 and $1,000, which for like a machine that Disney and Star Wars is, that's fucking nothing. That'll barely cover the coffee runs for that entire conglomerate.
It's interesting how calculated Disney is, and I imagine they thought they would get some goodwill by letting her go very publicly, to say like, we don't agree with what she's saying, we're taking a stand. But there's it's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because in some ways they could have just let her go quietly and avoided all this. But then I don't know. What do you do? Yeah, it's a hot mess.
It truly is just a pile of garbage that they are dealing with and sifting through right now. And they're damned if they do and damned if they don't, really, in situations like that, because there's two sides to every story, and people sympathizing with Gina Carano, people wanting the character Cara Dune back, people wanting what Gina Carano represents and the freedom of speech to be, get its justice.
I would actually like to see the percentages on the people who actually want to see Cara Dune back.
I feel like people only want her back now because she's been let go. Like, honestly,
Yeah,
like if it was
totally.
like part of the story and she died or just wasn't brought back, like no one would care. There wouldn't be these petitions. It's just they should just let it go. They should just like had a conversation with her in private and said, "Hey,
let it go.
This isn't working for us. You can go your own way. Sign this NDA. Done." No one would have cared.
Yeah, give her like a little bit of a buyout. Because I don't think, unless there was something official in her contract, like she was contracted maybe for Rangers of the New Republic, and I don't think there was anything even publicly released that she was going to be.
No, that was all just a rumor that she might be the lead of that, eh?
Yeah,
it's all just a rumor.
I don't think that was official, and I think it was only because in the show, what was her official title that when she got that badge?
Was it a ranger or was it a ranger
or marshal?
Oh. Marshal, maybe?
Yeah, or am I thinking of
the Marshal?
I'm getting mixed up with the Cara Dune, the Timothy Oliphant character.
Yeah, I think I'm wondering if she was called the Ranger, or he was asking her to join the Rangers, and then maybe just that reference was what spurred the rumors.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
but yeah, like you say, if they just
opens the door for RDJ to come in.
Robert Downey Syndulla, he's gonna play Hera.
Rumor is he wants a Star Wars.
Oh, so and what he wants, he gets. Daddy made him a lot of money, so Daddy wants, Daddy gets.
He essentially, at this point, though, in my opinion, he's a good actor, but at this point, he's kind of typecasted. He will be Tony Stark as a Star Wars character.
But Tony Stark is like just an overconfident Robert Downey Jr. Like, it's not
totally.
Even...
Yeah, it's the greatest casting. It's one of the greatest castings in my lifetime.
It was almost Tom Cruise.
Oh my god!
Was it really?
Yeah, Favreau had to fight for Robert Downey. Well, if you think at the time, like, he had quite the downward spiral and was slowly waking his way back up and hadn't really done anything really big or good at just before, we see him as Iron Man now, but at that point it was at a real turning point.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh god, Tom Cruise. Thank God we dodged that bullet.
Just running Iron Man.
Yeah.
Sprinting the entire time. I don't need the suit.
I do my own stunts.
Do I really need the jets? Do I need the jets? Can we make a real Iron Man suit and I'll fly in it?
Canopy. I am dangerous. Thanos.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I can fly.
I didn't know that he actually, in this is going off topic, this is bad. In most recent Mission Impossible where he flies a helicopter.
Okay. I haven't seen the most recent one, but
he actually learned how to fly.
That he was fly a helicopter.
He learned how to fly a helicopter and did like some crazy stunt and spiral and everything.
Of course he did.
That's the only benefit. If he was Iron Man, he would have made a real Iron Man suit.
Yeah. But then, he'd use that for Scientology and the takeover, and he would get a bunch of those robots to come in and just like point their guns at crowds and say,
it's just, he makes the suit and it's
Remain
just L. Ron
calm.
Hubbard.
Yeah.
What's an Iron Man 2, what's the other arms guy?
The Claw?
Justin Hammer.
Justin Hammer. I totally could have seen Tom Cruise playing Justin Hammer.
That is the most underrated character that I would love to see come back.
Yeah.
I could agree with that, yeah.
I love this one. We call it the ex-wife.
He's just a smarmy bastard too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great casting.
I love that. All right, Andy, what do we got for the Obi Watch?
Obi Watch.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Okay, two things. First thing is there's some rumors. This is reported on a Star Wars fan page. It comes from the Illuminati, which we can talk about another day.
It's a good source.
Yeah, Illuminati shared in a report stating that Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi will supposedly have a recurring role in the Disney Plus Star Wars live-action series Andor. I don't really see a recurring. Could he appear? Sure. I don't see him as being recurring because I am to believe that Andor takes place before the events of Rogue One. They would have to. He fucking dies. But there's the whole Jimmy Schmidt Organa scene where him and Mon Mothma says, I need your friend, the Jedi. He's like, I'll call for him, right? And then he sends Leia for Obi-Wan, which leads us into A New Hope. So I can't see a recurring role. However, you never know. They could tie this into premiering the Obi-Wan series in some small way, some little small cameo. I could potentially see that. But I'll get your guys' thoughts on that in just a second. The other piece of news that we have is, I hope I'm saying her name right, but it's Indira Varma, cast in a secret role in the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So she is the third confirmed casting, in addition to Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. Some may remember Indira Varma from her role as Elia Sand in Game of Thrones. And I know, Pat, you sent out a really interesting little meme there earlier about the Sand family, the Martells, taking over Star Wars, because she was the love of Prince Oberyn, who was our beloved Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. So she is also making her way into the Star Wars universe. And what do you guys think of, first, Obi-Wan, Andor, and then second, when we get to the Obi-Wan series, what do you think of Indira Varma coming in, and what do you think her role will be? Who do you think she is?
I want to say Duchess Satine. Sorry, I'm just going right for the most immediate question first, because that's on the top of my head right now.
Yeah, fuck you, Ryan.
I think, that's what everyone thinks. However, because of that fact, I think they're going to throw a curveball to us, and it's going to be something else, maybe. I don't know. But that being said, it could be Duchess Satine and, some flashbacks. So, which may give, and I've seen this on a couple of nerd resources, see if I can find it here real quick. I think, okay, I can't find it now, but someone had said that this could lead to perhaps some kind of Obi-Wan offspring, which could be a point of the Obi-Wan series in him showing a flashback scene with Duchess Satine, and that kind of tying along with a couple, a couple little treasure hunt items for Obi-Wan to uncover perhaps a hidden child.
I have to say this. I have been adamant in this podcast and to everyone in Rise of Skywalker, which is its own issue. I know there's all the rumors of rebooting it and rewriting it and what the original plan was for the trilogy, blah, 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 blah. I'm fully in support. I'm fully in support of it. I'm fully in support of it.
Yes, and.
But my dream all the way along is that Rey would have been the granddaughter of Obi-Wan. And how interesting would it be with all these subtle retwists to that trilogy to try to kind of reframe things. I know, Pat, you've touched on the world between worlds and already disproving Rise of Skywalker. Clearly J.J. Abrams tried to correct Ryan with an I Johnson all the way through the final movie. But possibly
I can see it.
The Emperor's wife the love child of Obi-Wan, so therefore Rey is part Obi-Wan. I would love for that to happen. It's probably a stretch, but that's just my own secret.
See, I would be fine if they have very, very subtle references to the sequel trilogy, but only speculation. They never fully reference it, and just build this whole world, this gap of time between Jedi and that time, and get so far into this world in between that at the very end they can kind of be like, oh yeah, and this happened, so that didn't. You know what I mean? Stretch it out so long that you don't even remember the sequel trilogy. I don't even think they need to really come out and outwardly say, we're retcutting this, we're adding this. We'll just build this whole world that happened between Jedi and the sequel trilogy and expand that world so much and make it so interesting that you don't even think about the sequel trilogy anymore.
Yeah, it's like an afterthought almost. It'd be like you're just so enthralled with this new storyline, this new direction that it's taking, this new kind of you'd almost think of the sequels. Fuck, I always do that. The sequels as kind of like what the original Spider-Man movies were to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it's just kind of they're Marvel, they were fun, they were their own thing, but the Kevin Feige style MCU Marvel universe, where involved the Infinity Stones and all that. At the end of that, you're not necessarily thinking that Spider-Man is tied back to those movies at all. It's
No.
just kind of its own thing. I mean, that being said, though, I think Finn didn't get a fair shake. I don't think Rey got a fair shake. I think she was like placed too high on a pedestal. I think they could have like maybe shared some of that load, so to speak, with some of the other characters, give some more depth to some of the other people along the way, including Kylo Ren and Ben Solo. And
I mean, I was upset because of all the fan speculation, but as much as I hated The Last Jedi, I thought it was an interesting choice to make her nobody, because it meant that anyone could, aspire to the Force, or do the right thing. Because, in some ways, before we knew about Luke's background, that was Luke, right?
Yeah. And that's the point of the hero's journey. When these authors are writing for for something like the hero's journey, you are supposed to make the main character empty, essentially. They're supposed to be like, you're not supposed to necessarily give them right out of the gate this rich, enthralling backstory or this stuff behind the scenes that makes them who they are per se. They're supposed to be like an avatar for the reader, for the watcher, someone that you can empathize with and someone that you could see yourself being very easily. So, and that works more in like literature than it does for cinematic reasons. But like Luke Skywalker, when he first met him, wasn't an interesting guy. He was sitting in his aunt and uncle's place playing with his toys, just dreaming of a better life, which every single person, whether you have absolutely nothing or whether you have more, everyone wants to get more and be better and do amazing things. So Luke Skywalker was an avatar for everybody, especially the nerd. Like the nerd is like, yes, I feel like I have so much more to offer, but I don't know how to do that. And then here comes the wizened old mentor, hands you a lightsaber, and suddenly you are amazing. And so everyone's just waiting for that kind of moment to be like, wow. So like you said, I think that was a good thing of Rian Johnson's, as much as it almost pains me to say it.
Yeah, I know.
Because Andy,
don't want to give him anything.
I know. Because like it would have been so much like cool. She's Obi-Wan's granddaughter. But at the same time, it's like stylistically and artistically, like, okay, she could be anyone. Now, I think they did a very poor job of that in Force Awakens. I think it's almost like, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But I feel like the payoff.
That's the problem with the whole trilogy and the jumping between the directors.
There was no vision.
Is like
no consistent vision. Yeah.
I think I would have been okay for her to be no one if they just would have stuck the whole way to her being no one and not kind of alluding that she's someone.
Yeah. Well,
then dangling that fucking carrot around, and then like JJ just like recorrecting it in the final movie. Like I just it struggled with it. And
I didn't like the disdain that Rian did it with. It wasn't just like, oh, she's nobody. It's like literally Kylo saying like, let go of the past, kill it, like, which is directly to the fans who had these fan theories, right? But it's like they were all there. Like the fact that, the lightsaber was drawn to her. Everyone seemed to know her. Leia looked at her. Han looked at her in a certain way.
Yeah,
like, I know you. Like, and there was so much. It didn't come out of thin air. This speculation. It was all the seeds were set. I think in an interview at some point later on, Daisy Ridley said that there was supposed to be some connection to Obi-Wan. That's what it was told to her. But it was never fully fleshed out. There was something that JJ had said, like, oh, this is what I'm hoping. But they just kind of let a new director take it. And Rian was just like, all your fan theories, those are dumb. Like, it's like, no, it's not a fan theory. You put it in the plot.
That doesn't make me feel better.
Back to Obi-Wan. I hope there's not too much connection with stuff before. I think I like if it's like a subtle, like he's keeping tabs on the rebels and knows what's going on and maybe giving them some notes. I kind of like the, Obi-Wan being on his own and kind of sad and maybe doing some small adventures on Tatooine and keeping an eye on Luke, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to undermine what he was when A New Hope starts. I don't want him to have like all these adventures and a huge like connection to the rebels in the lead up. I kind of liked that this was his last hurrah and wanted to redeem himself.
I don't think he's going to have a huge connection to the rebels, but I'd be interested to see how they tie Hayden Christensen in, because they've teased it as the rematch of the century. So
I think that could still work. I think that could still be like early on. He's still much more hopeful and thinks he can contribute, and he thinks he can turn Anakin and goes one last time.
Yeah.
And then can't and sees what he's really become. And it's just like, okay, I guess I'm going back to Tatooine.
And also, I also like the idea in the Obi-Wan to really expand, as much as it's about Obi-Wan, it hopefully will give Hayden Christensen a chance to do some redemption. I think we're going to get some Christensen mask off time and a lot of reflection on Padme. I mean, no one's really talked about it, but it would be interesting if there's any Natalie Portman like type work done, even if it's very subtle, like any voiceover work or just anything to sort of add to his torment and his PTSD and different things. Like, I think we can get some really good, like, there's a lot of stuff written out there and a lot of stuff that's theorized about like Vader going to visit Padme's grave and just different things. Like, I'd like to see more of that, how he's coping and that conflict that he has with what he's done and what he's become type of thing.
Yeah, I can see him like having a hologram of her saying some sort of like meaningless thing, but just playing it on loop.
Right. Yeah.
Like over and over again.
Even if they did something like that, like she reacted, like redid basically something from the Clone Wars. I think that would be a nice little addition. But like Natalie Portman acting what her animated counterpart did in the show kind of thing. Something like that I think would be really good. My only kind of caveat with this rematch of the century between them would be tying back to A New Hope's line when Vader meets up with Obi-Wan saying, "When we last met, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." Like, okay, what phase is that going to be at that you can still consider yourself a learner? So again, I'm kind of deconstructing, I'm taking it from this ultimate fight and trying to deconstruct it as to how it would effectively get there, like from a storytelling point of view. And I think in order for it to fully make sense, it would have to be at a time where Vader/Anakin is still very conflicted, and Vader has just taken over. He is just fully committed to being Vader, to learning this dark side of the Force, to, if they take this Legends theory or this Legends shit, that Darth Vader is an incomplete Sith. He will never be a full Sith because he can't use Force lightning. He can't fully embrace the dark side because he is he's not a full human. He's not a full person. He's mechanical. He's machine. They dipped into that in the Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi with Lumaya, which is this other Legends character that I think could be very, very interesting, and someone who maybe this Erdina, or is that her name? That's another person who I think she could play if they introduce Lumaya, who was a kind of like I think she was a TIE fighter pilot, and Luke Skywalker shot her down. And she ended up getting like mutilated as a result of this, but was reconstructed and then had this like huge battle. But she was she was Force sensitive, and then ultimately became this like Dark Lady of the Sith, who ended up teaching Jason Solo, the kind of introducing him to the dark side and the ways of the Sith. And she was the one informing him, like you are the complete picture. You are a whole person. Your grandfather, Darth Vader, he had similar ideals in that, wanted peace for the galaxy, but he could never master it all because of his, to put a word on it, disability, in that he had, he had mechanical parts keeping him alive as opposed to being like a whole person connected to the Force. He essentially, that part of him essentially died when he got hacked in pieces in Mustafar there. So if they bring that shit kind of back, coming back to my big long rant here, having Anakin come to terms with that, having Vader come to terms with that and fully committing to trying to be like to prove everyone wrong that yes, he can be the biggest, baddest Sith of them all, and having that chip on his shoulder and being extra angry and extra pissed off. So, he meets up with Obi-Wan again, and that's when this rematch of the century comes in, when he's like uber pissed, and because he's so pissed, he loses focus, and then Obi-Wan gets away into hiding away he goes again. But yeah,
I could see the fight going either. Obi-Wan kind of gives up, similar to what he does in A New Hope, but Anakin can't do it. He can't kill him, even though, you know what I mean? Or Obi-Wan does defeat him, like you say, and Anakin's just so furious. He's just, swinging with so much anger and just not focused, and he can't beat Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan has the chance to kill him, I guess, again, but can't do it. And maybe just says, you still have so much to learn, and then leaves him.
But Qui-Gon interferes somehow.
It's gonna be tricky, because I feel like if he could beat Anakin in a lightsaber battle again, why wouldn't he? I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna do it. Hopefully it's nothing I can predict. Hopefully it's just something totally cool.
And that's just it. It's like I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much for it, because I want it to make sense. I want it to look cool. I want it to, I want it to mostly make sense. It could be like, a quick little battle. It doesn't have to be that 20-minute Mustafar fight that we got in Revenge of the Sith. It could just be like a nice little mini duel or so. But thematically, it has to make sense for me in order to fully enjoy it and fully justify it.
What could be interesting is if, say, Obi-Wan just tries to talk to Anakin and doesn't actually take out his lightsaber, but the entire time Anakin is trying to kill him, and he's just dodging it the whole time and just trying to talk to him and trying to talk to him, and the whole time Anakin or Darth Vader's swinging at him, destroying everything around him, and just is getting so exhausted and just can't do it until he's almost collapsing, and then Obi-Wan just kind of takes his mask off just to see his eyes one last time, just to see if he's still there.
Yeah,
but
ooh.
That'd be it.
Filoni, I know you're listening, so take some notes, bud.
I'll get that one for free.
Everybody gets one.
The other thing too, it's one of those. I gotta curb my expectations, like Pat said. I'm really excited for it. It's the show I'm waiting for the most.
Yeah.
And as much as I want, I love nostalgia, and I tossed out Natalie Portman's name, but then there's rumors about Ray Park and Darth Maul, and then there's rumors about Liam Neeson and Mace Windu. Could Samuel L. Jackson? We're always talking about Samuel L. Jackson. When's the hell is Sammy J gonna show up in a Star Wars? We all know it's coming at some point, right? It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But you don't want to saturate this thing.
Yeah.
Just with so much old content that I don't know. Again, I totally agree with you guys. It has to make sense. And it's a limited series. We're talking 6 episodes at the most.
Yeah, so it's a lot of shit to make sense in there. So,
and and I would like to see a Liam Neeson cameo for sure, because we have not seen Liam Neeson since episode 1. And I think it would make sense in terms of what was said at the end of Revenge of the Sith, with Yoda saying commune with Qui-Gon, and Yoda communed with Qui-Gon in the animated series. So I feel like Liam Neeson would make a lot of sense, but I don't want to saturate it with just all that stuff. I know I'd like it in the moment because it would be, oh fuck, everyone's back and this is so cool. But in terms of longevity and how I view it in the long run, I don't think it's a good way to go.
Yeah. I like that Obi-Wan's going to be in Andor as well. That kind of connects.
Well, maybe, we don't know. But
that's the rumor, that him and Ahsoka are supposedly both going to be in Andor now.
Oh, okay. So if that's what I was thinking. So if that's true, that they're both going to be in Andor, I feel like that could be the setup for Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan wanting to appeal to Anakin. We've talked about it before, Pat and I, in terms of it being a very somber reunion between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and is there potential in the Ahsoka, and not in the Ahsoka series because it comes after, but is there potential that Ahsoka has some sort of meeting with Anakin, some sort of flashback scene that maybe we see in the Obi-Wan series that makes sense with the end of Andor? So Ahsoka has found Obi-Wan on Tatooine at the end of Andor to be able to say, you need to do this, or I still think there's good in him, or blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see that we see Ahsoka's connection to Anakin as a flashback in the Obi-Wan series.
They had such a nice little tie-up at the end of Clone Wars. Even though it wasn't face-to-face necessarily with them, like when Vader got to that planet that was already iced over.
And he picks up the lightsaber.
I
know.
He looks up at the sky, and you can see his eyes through the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the light. This, like, when you're looking at sunglasses the right way, you can see someone's eyes kind of thing. It's like, It was like that effect. I thought that was like a very kind of like, oof.
Again, so we don't want to saturate it, right? We don't want to saturate it. I get it.
I think the Ahsoka series. I think they're going to leave her connection with Anakin. I could see her, chatting with Obi-Wan and having that meeting, but I think it'll be Obi-Wan that's going to say that I think I can.
Yeah,
fair. Still get him to go.
That's going to be the showdown of the century, right there. Is that communication between them, whatever it is. But I think the whole. A big part of Andor is going to be Andor is the one who finds Obi-Wan by accident, per se, finds his exact location, and his mission, and I do the running motion right now, his mission, it's going to be like a spy mission, kind of like what Rogue One was, him getting that information back to Bail Organa to then say, like, I know where Obi-Wan is, and then
well, I think Bail already knows, right?
Yeah, he was at that meeting.
He just said, I'm going to Tatooine. And then who knows necessarily, like that was like 19 years in between the end of episode 3 and Rogue One, where Bail comes back and says, I'll send for, because 19 years is a long flipping time to be like, hey, you know what? I think I remember a guy 20 years ago. Yeah. Let me go see if he's at his old address. There's got to be some kind of definite reason for him to like have that mission to go find Obi-Wan and to send his daughter to those like very rather specific coordinates kind of thing. So
do you think there's any potential of, I'm just putting it out there, but do you think there's any potential of Hayden Christensen having some sort of cameo in Andor?
I hope so. I love everyone. It's like everyone's favorite scene of Rogue One is seeing how powerful and terrifying Darth Vader is compared to just rebels with blasters. And I would love that specter of Vader to kind of hover over all the Andor show. Like, basically any mission they're doing as fast as they can before Vader shows up.
Yeah, he is the consequence.
Because as soon as he shows up, you're dead.
Yeah.
And they reference that in New Hope, like how he's basically the Emperor's thug. Like he just goes in and does the Emperor's bidding. He's the heavy. He comes in and just messes things up. So I just love this kind of like horror movie kind of element to it, that he's just lingering in the shadows, and there's that absolute fear and tension all the time. Vader shows up, and maybe that's the through line to get Obi-Wan involved, is like, maybe these rebels don't really know what a Jedi is. And like, he had this laser sword and he was grabbing people with their hands and like, and then they're like, oh, wait, I think I know someone who could help us. And that's why they want Obi-Wan.
That's cool. That's cool. What is the timeline? I'm not quite sure. Have we heard timelines on the shows? Andor's first. When is Andor?
When does it take place?
No. Like release.
I don't think there is anything. I think it's 2022 for just about everything. I don't think there is any release schedules.
For some reason, I was thinking it was going to be this year, but I guess they're not using the volume for Andor. They're doing full-on sets, and it's, I think, going to take a lot more work.
Yeah, I think 2022 is like, we got Book of Boba Fett at Christmas time. I think Mandalorian's supposed to be within the first few months of 2022. But they got so many shows coming. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to see a bunch of them.
I'd be curious to see which ones end up happening, because that seems to be a thing with a lot of these big events. They announce all these shows and movies, and
I think for sure Obi-Wan, Ahsoka.
Well, yeah, the stuff that's filming for sure. But I'm curious.
I've not heard anything about Lando.
Right.
No.
I think that'd be great. I'd be very curious to see how it all comes together. But I think that might be like what Ant-Man essentially was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it's just kind of like a fun little character who he has some, some pretty big impact in the universe as a whole, but he's not like, he's not like a Captain America kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're Captain America. Hi. I'm shaking your hand too long.
Thanks for thanking me.
Yeah. Paul Rudd, that's a great casting.
For sure.
I was gonna say, so the sand person, you were speculating who she could be playing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Ventress still alive?
That is one of the rumors that she could be Ventress.
I think Ventress did die somewhere, but I don't think it's like, well, again, timelines are so fluid in this new reality now.
Yeah.
A quick look on Wikipedia tells me that she died.
What I read, though, is that the main theories out there is that she'll be either Duchess Satine or Ventress. That's a lot of people's main two theories.
I could see her more as a Duchess Satine, personally, but
she's fairly villainous on Game of Thrones.
She was,
yeah.
wasn't she? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, on Game of Thrones, we never actually saw her die. We just
She just left there.
We assume she's rotted and watched her daughter live to watch her daughter rot.
Well, she probably for sure got torched if she was still there.
Oh, she'd be dead inside the castle. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Okay, so she was in the book Dark Disciple in 2015. Yeah, quick look here. Doesn't say if she is dead. Maybe that'll be a correction for next week. We don't do corrections anymore. Yeah, I'll look into that for next week to see exactly a little bit more about Asajj Ventress and see if she was actually, if she was killed or what happened to her. Totally. I do want to read that Dark Disciples book because it's supposed to be very, very good. And especially, it's actually based on an 8-episode arc that was supposed to be for the next season of Clone Wars after, before it got canceled when Disney bought out everything. So they turned this story arc into a book that's this Dark Disciple thing. But yeah, it's ultimately did not come to fruition. But yeah, no, it's good things ahead. Good things ahead.
So thanks for talking Obi Watch with me, boys. I didn't expect it to take that long of that much of our podcast talking fully about Obi-Wan, but it is my favorite thing, so I could probably talk every week about Obi-Wan and fill the hour. So thank you for humoring me. This was a gift to me. But
you're welcome.
Yes, thank you. But also thank to everyone who's listening with us today. As always, we always appreciate it, and please punch that subscribe button and give us a rating.
And be sure to check out our YouTube channel that can be found in our show notes.
You can also find us on Instagram at Good Morning Alderaan, same as Facebook. And if you have any questions at all or things you want us to dig into a little bit more, or even any corrections you can fire our way, send those to any DM inbox you can find, or our email address, gmalderaan@gmail.com. Once again, I'm Pat, and on behalf of my co-hosts, Andy and Ryan, I also want to say thanks for listening, and hey!
Always be a Jedi in the streets.
And a Sith in the sheets.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.